Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today's Wednesday, February 28th, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. 3 Mississippi HBCUs could be shut down if a newly introduced bill is enacted. We'll talk to a Mississippi State Senate Universities and Colleges Committee member about this particular Senate bill. North Carolina HBCU St. Augustine's University's accreditation has been terminated by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Board of Trustees. We'll tell you what that means for the North Carolina institution. The U.S. State Department has issued a warning to those wanting to travel to Jamaica. The Jamaican Ambassador to the United States, Audrey Marks, will explain why she wants the advisory to be retracted. And last night, I talked to the Dolton, Illinois Mayor Tiffany Henyard on the show about a variety of issues and complaints against her, serious allegations. One of the issues we talked about was the foundation that's named after her. She said she wasn't aware of the folks who were behind it. That's impossible, because all involved have a relationship with her. We'll break it down for you. Plus, Washington State Republicans hatched a plan to attack the Voting Rights Act by creating maps and then working with other GOP lawmakers nationwide to file a lawsuit against the work. The ProPublica reporter who uncovered this story will join us. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
A number of folks in Mississippi are concerned regarding a new Senate bill that could very well lead to the closure of several HBCUs. State Senator John Polk believes the state's 8 public universities are too costly, and closing 3 will save the state millions. He's filed a bill called SB 2726. If it becomes law, it will force the Board of Trustees of state institutions of higher learning to pick 3 institutions under its umbrella for closure. Now, if you look at the 8 institutions, they name Ole Miss, Southern Mississippi, Mississippi State. Well, those are 3 of the largest universities in the state. HBCU supporters say this is a roundabout way to shut down 3 of their institutions, such as Mississippi Valley State, Alcorn State, and Jackson State University. Joining us from Jackson, Mississippi, is State Senator Hillman Frazier, a member of the Universities and Colleges Committee in the Mississippi House. All right, glad to have you here. This bill seemed to come out of nowhere.
Well, in fact, we have a bill similar to every session. Since I've been serving, you have members introducing that bill trying to save money, but they talk about closing institutions. In the past, it was aimed at the Mississippi University of Women, and also Mississippi Valley State University. But over the years, there has not been any appetite on the part of the legislature to close any institution. We need to invest in them as opposed to closing them.
So what is confusing here, as I look at this, is that they name 8 schools. And let's be real clear. And Ole Miss ain't got a chance in hell of being shut down. Mississippi State or Southern Miss.
If you look at that bill, they're going to let the College Board make a determination in terms of what institution will be shut down. They will make a recommendation if they follow that bill. But based on my conversation with the chairperson of the committee and also College Board members, they have no appetite to close institutions. Number one, it's going to be very hard to close Alcorn State University because it's a land-grant institution. It's going to be very hard to close Jackson State because it's an urban university that's growing. You're going to have a trouble trying to close those institutions because they always come together, put together their might to make sure they address their needs. In the past, when they talked about closing, they talked about Mississippi University for Women because they're so close to Mississippi State University. They also talked about merging Mississippi Valley State University with Delta State University. They're so close together in the Delta. But in terms of political will, I don't think you're going to have the votes to, I know you won't have votes on my committee to advance that proposal at all. But in the past, some of the members have introduced legislation saying it's going to save the state money because we can't afford it. But we have surplus money. We have a surplus. We can invest that money into those institutions. But in terms of closure, I don't see that happening at all this term at all, because it's just not politically wise to do that. We're trying to invest in those institutions, trying to attract industry. And you can invest in industry by closing down institutions that's going to train the workers. So that won't fly at all this session of the legislature.
And not only that, I mean, look, when Haley Barbour was a governor of Mississippi, he floated this idea, got lots of pushback, and Mississippi was sued. And they had to, it was a massive win for the HBCUs because they were being grossly underfunded. We also, of course, recognize where the federal government has said that a lot of these states have been underfunding HBCUs across the country.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. In fact, the Mississippi was sued. We had to give our Alcorn Valley and Jackson State $500 million to make up for the past sins of the legislature. And we are also trying to continue those funding. But the dent in this bill, if you look at it closely, is going to allow the College Board to make a recommendation to the legislature in terms of closure. And if they close the institution, they will allow that property to be sold to a nonprofit or a state agency. But over the years, I've been hearing whisper about Ole Miss wanting to become a private institution. So this bill will give them that pathway to become a private institution, to get from under some of the restrictions of the state of Mississippi. So the real focus of this bill might be Ole Miss as opposed to Alcorn Valley and Jackson State.
All right, then. Well, look, certainly keep us abreast. This certainly, shocked a lot of people, led to a lot of consternation on social media. And as I keep saying, when it comes to Republicans in Mississippi, you never know something is dead until it's really dead.
You can't sleep over it, because I try to be the first one and the last one to leave, because anytime you're in session, they're up to something. I want to make sure that I'm on top of what's going on in this body. But in terms of this bill, I'm on top of it. I want to make sure that it don't see the light of day. I talked to the chairperson of the committee. She's against it. I talked to other members of the committee, and they're against it. And also, there's no appetite to close in its institution. We're trying to go forward. We're trying to be backwards in this state. And that's what we're going to do.
All right, Senator Frazier, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
But thanks for having us. Thank you.
On our panel, Rebecca Carruthers, Vice President, Fair Election Center out of D.C. Erica Savage, founder and host of the Reframed Brain podcast, also out of D.C. Glad to have both of you here. I mean, look, Rebecca, the thing that I just said there, we have to be extremely careful. What we are seeing from Republicans across this country, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Arkansas, Washington State, Iowa. I mean, I don't care what we're talking about. That is targeting HBCUs, targeting voting rights, targeting civil rights. And so we got to stay on constant alert all across this nation.
You know what, Roland, you're absolutely right. We're seeing one particular political party. We see a particular ideology that is hell-bent on making sure that people of color, that Black folks in this case specifically, aren't able to vote, or even to make sure that that our institutions are being shut down. As we know how important Alcorn State is, Jackson State is, and Mississippi Valley State is for Black folks in Mississippi. But here's the thing that I also want to caution viewers, is that this might be the banana in the tailpipe. Because one of the other things that's before the Education Committee right now is changing up the formula for K through 12 public schools in Mississippi, which could pass and will have very disastrous results for Black students attending public schools in Mississippi. So while I think it is alarming that the three of the HBCUs in Mississippi are included in this proposed bill, I just want to warn viewers that there's actually something worse that's coming that could very much pass the Mississippi legislature.
You know, Erica, I was, it's so funny, this little loudmouth on YouTube, I call her bad lace front hairstyle, did a video talking about me and others like D.L. Hughley meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris. And I had to call this fool out because I said, well, it wasn't a private meeting considering I posted photos of the dinner. And So I go on this fool's Instagram page, and all of these people running their mouths on there talking about we not going to vote, you ain't nothing but a shield, trying to get us to support Democrats. And I'm sitting here going, okay, so you don't see what's going on. Here you got Republicans in Mississippi. They ain't shutting down Ole Miss, Mississippi State, or Southern Miss. So if you got 8, those 3 come off. It's 5 left. So we got to be diligent to understand it's targeting HBCUs. This is the same state that would not fund the water issue in Jackson, Mississippi. This is the same state where the governor openly said when he was the state treasurer, he purposely ignored requests from Jackson, Mississippi. Then again, we talk about what's happening, Republicans are doing in Alabama, in Florida, in Georgia, in Tennessee, in Texas, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Iowa, in Maine, in Idaho, in Washington State, in Oregon, all over. If you are black and you are talking about, oh, I'm not voting, oh, I don't know why you sitting here talking about Democrats, you got to be a damn fool to be blind on what we see as a massive, whole-scale national attack on black people.
Yeah, Roland, there's really no better way to describe it. And I just want to say over the past weekend, I was at a totally separate conference at the Gaylord that was focusing on global health and wellness. And in that same facility, as we all know, was the CPAC conference. And I bring that forward to say that they are, if nothing, dogged about rolling back the rights of black people, which also, part of that legislation also provided that people that are not from this country be able to come in and prosper additionally. So, you know, in thinking about CPAC, I always go back to what Steve Bannon said in 2017 from the stage of that conference after the son of a Klansman had been made president, which was that the focus of their administration or their regime was to deconstruct the administrative state. And a part of that was already at work because of disinformation campaigns that are active and they're growing every day. If anyone does not see the threat to democracy that is happening every day and that is broadcasted across social media and has made a decision that they are not going to vote, they're actually in line with GOP, particularly when we think about what's happening at a state level, that on a federal level, particularly in the House of Representatives, that their counterparts are really showing them the way. So, you know, when we think about having freedom, being able to go on social media at will, where we're seeing different sites that are closing out for several hours or a complete day, you're seeing ads that are coming through the feeds that weren't otherwise there. You're seeing people who continually ensure that your experience on social media is filled with some type of right-wing Nazi-type propaganda, that who are the people that are holding these reins and what are they doing with their power? So I would go back to some of the commentary that has been happening on Roland Martin Unfiltered for several years, and that is with, on one note of music, to say that what the Grand Ole Party is doing is ensuring that the rights of everybody that is not white and that is not male kneel to the knee of them. And that should be enough for anybody to ensure that they are not only registered to vote, go on their Secretary of State's website to do so right now immediately, but also have your voting plan in place to vote early and be done with it.
See, Rebecca, this is real simple. I've never identified as a Democrat, and I know how to step back and assess individuals, how to assess parties, but I can say without a doubt that if you are black and hell, if you're a woman and you're sitting here looking at policies nationwide, and we can go state by state, that there's an absolute attack on black people. And so if you are black and you're sitting here talking about sitting out the election, and I hear these people, no tangibles, no vote. Well, first of all, no one can give you anything during the election. They got to get elected to actually make some stuff happen. Okay, they can make promises, but they actually have to deliver. But when you see folks attacking white conservatives, Republicans, attacking the Fearless Fund for providing grants, 10 to 20 grand to black female-owned businesses and other businesses, when you see them attacking affirmative action, when you see all of this, and you talking about sitting an election out, you got to be a total dumbass to do that. And I'll say this right now. If that's you, shut the hell up about anything on the local, state, and national level, because if you do not vote and you sit an election out, you're part of the problem, and you can't say a damn thing about anything because you didn't help to fix it.
You know, Roland, this is we're starting to get into kitchen table talk, and I think it's about time that we actually have this conversation. When people talk about tangibles, some of those people who are talking about it are similar to myself, descendants of Africans who were enslaved in America. I am on both sides. And let me tell you something. When people want to talk about sitting an election out, guess what? You did. That's why we're in the situation that we're in. There are plenty of state and local elections that black folks, unfortunately, do not vote at the same rate as they do in presidential elections. So when we're talking about what's going on in Mississippi, and later on when we talk about what's going on in Washington state, those are state and local offices that people should run for, that people should vote in those elections. Oftentimes, they're not in federal election years. They're not in 2022, 2024, 2026, 2028. Instead, they're in 2023. So one of the questions I have for some of these folks, where were you in 2023? Is that when you sat out an election? Is that when you allowed for for certain legislators to get reelected? Is that when you allowed for certain judges to be reappointed? Judges who are now doing very anti-black rulings from the bench, legislatures that are doing very anti-black legislation from state houses. That's the conversation that we need to have. And we can even bring it much lower. We could talk about school board races. Is that the race that you sat out in protest? That now in your very black area, you don't have black representatives, which means now the education of our children, especially in K through 12 public schools across the country, the curriculum is being decided by people who want to say that black folks in this country were volunteers, or they were just low-skilled labor. They weren't slaves. They were happy to be there because by them being ripped away from Africa, in turn, that meant that these black people now were able to get white Jesus. So for all those folks who want to have a conversation, let's follow through that line of what happens when we don't show up to the ballot box. And that's what we're seeing now. The second point I have, if you're going to sit out an election, why would you do it during the presidential? Where was all this talk in the non-presidential years? So I find it very interesting that you have some folks who are claiming to be pro-black, to be Black American, but they hide behind avatars. They hide behind non-picture images of themselves, or they are in digital blackface, trying to stir up trouble within Black communities when it's time to vote for the president. So I think it's very convenient to say, oh, well, let's sit out in 2024 when this is going to be this is going to be the most consequential election that we've seen to date.
Well, Erica, and I really love the not so bright people. So somebody goes by black males on YouTube. You will never hear this show talk about policy for black men, just women. Erica, just correct me if I'm wrong. If we are discussing the Affordable Care Act and its impact on black health care, does that include black men?
Yes. And it would include black girls and black boys.
If we're having a conversation about education and policy and funding for HBCUs and for K through 12, does that include black men and black boys?
Certainly.
If we're having a conversation about the lack of venture capital going to black-owned businesses, Does that include black male entrepreneurs and black female entrepreneurs?
100%. Yeah.
In fact, Erica, if we having a conversation, if we having a conversation about black maternal health care, doesn't that impact black men? Because if it's their wives, mamas, nieces, daughters, cousins having the baby, and if those black women are having black male babies, does that impact black men?
1,000%.
So you see why some of these black men who love to whine and complain sound stupid when they say, well, you're not talking about stuff that we care about or impacts us. Every single thing that we talk about on this show impacts black men and black women. You got to be a really dumb black man not to understand that.
Your words, not mine, Roland. But, the last point that you made around maternal health, we were making the point at the same time that these are systemic issues that impact the black community and really global health as well. And so to also, when we hear those types or read those types of comments, I'm immediately thinking about troll farms. And if that is an actual facing person, then thinking more about something that I've talked about around diet. What are you listening to? A lot of times where people are getting their information, snips of information, are from their favorite podcaster who may have been a celebrity or may have been in some type of industry that afforded them some type of celebrity. And what they're actually doing is they're pretty much being the comment head with a microphone, so to speak. And so, questioning where people actually are getting their information from, what are they reading, who are they listening to, those are the types of things that are really important, because that sounds like a point that was parroted from somebody who was misinformed. And unfortunately, we know that misinformation travels much faster, casts a much wider net than the actual truth does. What we're actually experiencing right now, a lot of people are really, really tired of hearing that this is the most consequential election. They're tired of hearing the positives that they don't believe that impact them. And I can understand that. However, in looking at all of that, then looking at the things that have been positively impacted by having a competent president, a competent vice president, and an administration that has really gone about the business of cleaning up a mess of many, many years, and then also making themselves available in terms of the policy, sharing what they're doing in the administration. And so those are things that we did not experience 4 years ago. So I think that in terms of people that completely share what is popular on social media, that really speaks to what people's diets are. And if people don't see by now that really elections are not about celebrity, elections are about protecting what you work for.
Well, I'm going to say right now, what we're dealing with are a lot of people who spend their time listening to fools. And I'm going to say it right now. If you are listening to any podcast or any show or anybody in your circle, and they are saying, man, that voting don't do nothing, don't accomplish nothing, stay at home, immediately turn, because you are listening to a fool. All right, y'all, when we come back, we're going to talk about a variety of issues, including we're going to stay in Mississippi, where the federal government has said that Mississippi has prisons that are absolutely violating the 14th Amendment with their heinous conditions. We will unpack that when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. What does it mean to actually have balance in your life? Why is it important and how do you get there? A masterclass on the art of balance. It could change your life.
Find the harmony of your life. And so what beat can you maintain at a good pace? What cadence can keep you running that marathon? Because we know we're going to have high levels, we're going to have low levels, but where can you find that flow, that harmonious pace?
That's all next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach and host of Get Wealthy. Let me hit you with a few numbers. African Americans spend 9 times the amount on ethnic beauty products and yet only own 1% of the beauty supply stores. It's an $18 billion industry. On the next Get Wealthy, you're going to learn and hear from a woman who's turning this obstacle into an opportunity.
We literally take you from A to Z on all of the things step by step you need to have in place to open and run a very successful beauty supply store.
That's right here with me, Deborah Owens, host of Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Next on The Frequency with me, Dee Barnes, the amazing Drew Dixon.
She gives us the details behind the HBO documentary that shed light on the alleged sexual assaults by Russell Simmons.
And we're talking about the Netflix documentary, Ladies First, right here on The Frequency on the Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Me that. All right, y'all. The State Department issued a Level 3 travel advisory for Jamaica, citing elevated crime and inadequate health care. Jamaica's ambassador to the United States, Audrey Marks, calls the warning inadequate. She joins us right now from Washington, D.C. Ambassador Marks, glad to have you here. First of all, there was an advisory for Jamaica as well as for the Bahamas. And both Caribbean nations are contesting this. And so what has been your conversations with the State Department over this advisory? Because obviously it has an impact on people visiting your country.
Yes. So first, thank you so much, Roland, for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you. We were surprised about that advisory because nothing had changed in Jamaica from 2023. And in 2023, we had over 3 million visitors. And we had 5 cases of homicides, and they were all linked to Jamaican Americans, unfortunately, because every loss of life is important to us. But I made the point to say there are many Jamaican Americans who do not go to the resort areas. They might go into some areas. There might be some other activities. At least 3 were very clear cases of persons being involved in illicit activities. So to just to not do any differentiation and make a blanket statement that Jamaica is not safe when over 3 million Americans visited, and there are only 5 cases of homicides. When I'm living right here in D.C., and I'm not seeing many places right here in the United States that have 3 million persons, many cities, and with only 5 cases of murders. So I thought it was a very unfair and not a very equitable description of the situation in Jamaica. So while we do have a problem in Jamaica with gangs and gangs involved in illicit gun and drug activity between the United States and Latin America, it is not in the tourism areas. And I think more details should have been given so that persons didn't get the feeling that there was suddenly some spike in violence going on in Jamaica, because it just wasn't so. And level 3 also, we do not think is really the category that Jamaica is in, because many other countries in level 3 are countries with having not, they have civil unrest. They have, all kinds of mass murders going on. And that's not the situation in Jamaica. Well, you have been to Jamaica, that's not our situation. So what we need is to continue working closely with the U.S. on the areas where they can be helpful in limiting the amount of illegal weapons that come to Jamaica that contribute to a crime situation.
If you think about it, Jamaica could literally issue a travel advisory telling people don't come to the United States because of mass shootings and because of murder and crime.
The truth is, I'm not here to criticize the U.S. in any shape or form, because the U.S. is, one of the greatest countries in the world. And I see the U.S. as a friend. I just thought I did something wrong, and we needed to have a conversation about it and to look at how to fix it. And that's what we're doing.
I'm on the State Department website, level 8. So they did level 3. When I look here, I see Burma, Afghanistan, Haiti with the level 4, and so so for them to have you guys at 3, it sounds. My goodness, I look. I've been to Jamaica. I wouldn't say Jamaica is right below Afghanistan.
Thank you. I don't think we are either. So it was a bit of a surprise just to see this drastic warning. And we believe there's some misinformation, and we're working through it. So we expect that there will be a change. Yes.
As I said, Bahamas was also mentioned, and so have you had conversations with your colleagues, your peers in Bahamas about this same advisory?
Yes, we did, and we are both having conversations with the State Department to look forward to and requesting that it be revised. So it's an ongoing conversation. So we want to speak about that. I wanted the opportunity, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity to say to your audience that Jamaica remains a safe tourism destination, and that the embassy here and the consulates around the United States, we are always open for any questions, any concerns. But Jamaica is very much a safe destination for American tourists to travel to. And so for me, this is a very important conversation that I want to have with the American public. And I don't know if you have a particular demographic in terms of African Americans, but that's a big part of our markets. I'm glad to get the opportunity to speak to sisters and brothers to say Jamaica remains a safe place for you to visit and to feel at home.
All right, then. Well, look, we appreciate you coming on the show. Certainly let us know if there's any change in this designation for the State Department.
I certainly will, but I can't leave without saying something about the Bob Marley movie. I'm hoping that you will...
Go ahead.
I want to make sure that I invite you and your audience to go out and watch the movie. You know, we don't have many movies from a major studio like Paramount featuring icons from our the small Caribbean region. So we think this is a very important movie. We think it's a great movie. It's one that I enjoyed watching, and I want to encourage everyone to go and watch it. Have you gone as yet, Roland?
No, I have not seen the movie yet. I plan on doing so. But in the meantime, I will listen to some Bob Marley. But definitely look forward to seeing the movie.
Yes. So far, the audience has been really positive in their response. I think it's over 120 million at the box office now, which is really a good 2 weeks. I will want that to continue. I want your audience to go out and watch the movie. They will hear many of their favorite Bob Marley songs, and the acting is just great. So, thank you for this opportunity, and I hope you'll go and enjoy it and speak more about it when you get back on your show.
All right, then. Absolutely. And so glad to have you on the show, Ambassador Marks. And again, I was just in Jamaica for 2 weeks for Christmas and New Year's. And so I had a good time. The only complaint I had was the White Witch Golf Course. I need them to get their greens back. That's the only complaint I had.
We're now finally getting a bit more rain, so I think the greens are going to be looking much better the next time you visit. And I look forward to having a game with you. It can be here or there.
All right. I'm always up for some golf. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Erica, this is, people watching may go, okay, hey, this is no big deal. But the reality is when you are a nation like Jamaica or the Bahamas, and tourism is a significant part, these travel advisories from the State Department are significant because that could harm the countries economically.
Oh my gosh, the economic reverberation would be devastating for Jamaica. And so it was really good that you had Ambassador Marks on the Roland Martin Unfiltered show. That's one thing that people can count on, particularly with this Black media platform, that you are absolutely going to hear from the person. So I'll add that in as an asterisk so people know that we heard straight from the ambassador of Jamaica, representing the government of Jamaica. So, yeah, the economic impact is quite serious, particularly when you have an advisory that also points to their healthcare system, which I thought was really interesting considering the fragile healthcare system that we have here in the United States. So to have, again, the ambassador come on, for her to have provided a fact sheet, for her to be able to talk directly to not only Americans, but to Jamaican Americans and share more information around the travel advisory that was issued, and then also elicit the help of Blacks and Jamaicans to actually remedy this and to please continue to support the country. So this is what you get when you do watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. And I think it was important that she did come on and say that live.
I'm sitting here. Give me 1 second, hopefully. So, Rebecca, I just pulled this up, and this is the actual U.S. State Department website, and you'll see it by dates. And so you see Botswana, a level 2, South Africa. But then, again, you're talking about level 3. So Lebanon gets a level 3. Looks like they lowered the Bahamas down to a level 2. Saudi Arabia has a level 3. They still have Jamaica at a level 3. Burma, Myanmar is at level 4. Do not travel. Papua New Guinea is at level 3. Iran is a level 4. Nicaragua, Niger are at a level 3. And so, look, I absolutely understand why Ambassador Marks would be concerned about that.
Roland, oftentimes U.S. policy has a lot of subterfuge. And what I'm trying to figure out, if this is really about the quote-unquote increase in crime claims that none of us here really think is so in Jamaica, or is this because last year an American diplomat, who was being sent over to Jamaica, their same-sex spouse spouse wasn't afforded diplomatic immunity that normally the wife or husband of a heterosexual diplomat would be afforded. So I wonder if this is in retaliation for what happened last year, or if the United States is really trying to say that there was an uptick in crime in Jamaica. But level 3 seems very, very high, and it doesn't make sense. So I'm trying to figure out, what exactly is going on. Is it really about what the U.S. said, or is there something below the surface that's going on?
Yeah, because like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at, come on guys, go back. So St. James Parish, Montego Bay, they're saying do not travel. I'm not quite understanding this, and so they are, again, like I say, I was there for 2 weeks, and we look at this travel advisory here. They lay out country summary: violent crimes such as home invasions, armed robbery, sexual assaults, and homicides are common. Sexual assaults occur frequently, including at all-inclusive resorts. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that also sounds to me like the United States.
Absolutely.
Just saying. All right. Go ahead, Erica. Say it again.
Now, and to add in the healthcare perspective, it definitely sounds a lot like the United States, to your point, Roland.
All right. Going to a break. We come back. Say it again. Say it again, Rebecca.
As a Black woman, I would rather give birth in Jamaica than give birth in the United States. I think the likelihood of having a successful and healthy pregnancy is a better outcome in Jamaica than the U.S.
And that is indeed an issue in this country. All right. Got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about horrid prison conditions in Mississippi. Also, last night I talked to the mayor of Dolton, Illinois on the show. And I asked her about criticism about a foundation that's named after her. She said she had no involvement with it, didn't know who was behind it, but that's kind of impossible. I'm going to explain right here. Don't forget to support us in what we do. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. See your check and money orders at P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. That's right. Poor and low wealth voters, who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the 4th leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you. justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
Farquhar, executive producer of Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Hunter Biden testified today behind closed doors. Republicans have been clamoring for that. According to various posts on social media, he did not plead the fifth one time. Wow. Of course, they've been seeking this testimony. Man, Democrats have been coming out saying this is an absolute joke. He gave them no information, saying that President Biden had benefited from any of his business dealings. I mean, at the end of the day, what we have here, Rebecca, are a bunch of Republicans who are pissed off that their patron saint, Donald Trump, is a thug, corrupt, and then there was a vote to impeach twice. And what they're trying to do is do anything to harm President Biden. All of their key witnesses, they've lied. The FBI has arrested their number one person. What are we doing here?
You forgot to add the other thing, like Erica says, son of a Klansman. So he's corrupt, he's a thug, and most importantly, son of a Klansman. Here's the thing. What's really unfortunate with Hunter is that we know he's had a lot of personal issues and addiction issues, and that makes him very easily a target. And, you know, I'm not going to defend everything he's done in the last few years, especially while he was under the haze of addiction. But it's very clear that there isn't much of a case here. It's very clear that, you know, even if Republicans thought they had something, it seems like they jumped the gun on this because their entire case is falling apart, or their entire their set of accusations are falling apart. And, you know, I think it was also very powerful when Hunter showed up to the Hill several weeks ago and said, hey, I'm here. You could actually ask me questions in front of the American people. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Republicans spin what happened behind closed doors, because we know that they're going to say all sorts of outrageous things that probably did not happen. But, you know, I don't think voters who are undecided are going to decide how they're going to vote based upon Hunter Biden. I think those who are salivating about Hunter Biden, I think those folks aren't going to vote for Joe Biden anyway. So at this point, you know, even politically, it's going to be time to move on.
Well, it's going to be time to move on, but the reality is they're not going to move on because they desperately want this to wound the president for November, Erica. Erica, you on mute?
Okay, that definitely helps, Beyonce. But, you know, I hope what people...
Yeah, that helps.
I hope what people are seeing, to use a Republican term, is that this is a nothing burger, and that Republicans are lazy, and that they are welfare kings and queens. There is so much work to be done in the year 2024 for this country, preventing government shutdowns, paying bills. There's a lot of work to be doing, policy. There are things to be doing, but this is what Republicans want to tie their time up with, much in the same way that their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, the son of a Klansman, does. So I think that people noticing patterns would see that the pattern is that Republicans do whatever and whoever needs to be done to please their master. They're not about what they were actually elected and hired to do, north of $175,000 a year. They're there with the policy, legislation, and ideology of one person in mind. So I think, if anything else, this should really be more confidence for people to ensure that they make sure that they firmly reject the lazy, the welfare movement behavior of Republicans and make sure that they go out and vote throughout this year.
Well, what we also have is the U.S. Supreme Court bailing Donald Trump out after a Court of Appeals 3-0 vote said, no, dude, you ain't got immunity. Well, this happened today when the Supreme Court granted him cert. They're going to hear of the case whether he has immunity on April 22nd. This right here, Erica, is totally bogus. The bottom line is they didn't have to make this decision. Remember, they initially opted not to hear the case. It went to the appeals court. They made the decision. Now they go, oh yeah, we'll go ahead now and listen to the argument. Totally bogus. What this now does is delays the case, and then now Donald Trump, the case will not happen likely until after the election. And let's keep in mind, this deals with him trying to overthrow the election. Clarence Thomas has not recused himself, and so he doesn't have the guts to do what Ketanji Brown Jackson did, recusing herself. And so this is a win for Trump, and his Supreme Court is giving it to him by taking oral arguments on this case for April 22nd. And why the hell do you need 2 damn months to prepare arguments on this whole deal? They argued before the circuit court. This is all about delay, which was Donald Trump's goal.
Absolutely, so that he can be back in a place to retain power. And so that is why, 2 months, but he paid the price in years ago when he made sure that 3 Supreme Court justices were on the court, and then that those that were that could continue to be bought off, like Clarence Thomas, were continuing to be paid. So to me, this is why it's important. And we've talked about this on this show for several years now, paying attention to the courts, the influence of the courts, how the courts have usurped the power and the authority of what we do as people who put elected in office. And so all of these things tie together. And so, one would have to kind of keep a memory of these things, but I liken it to anybody that pays attention to sports. People can call out what a running back did 12 years ago on you name what team. We need to have that same type of mental acuity, that same type of standard when it comes to our electeds, because much like athletes, what electeds build on is what was there before. It's precept upon precept. So as much as people would like to tap out, to believe into, or to make comments around the lesser of two evils, it's the same thing, they're going to do what they want. Well, people only do what they want when they're actually given the latitude to do that. But we actually have the power to ensure that there is an account, that people will have to pay attention to for making decisions like this. So, again, this goes back to our own political activity and how we're involved.
Look, what we're facing here, Rebecca, is clear. And that is a court that is trying to help Donald Trump. Let's keep in mind, the Supreme Court heard and ruled in 3 days Bush v. Gore. They don't need 2 damn months.
Roland, this is like Avengers Endgame. For those of you all who are Marvel Cinematic Universe fans like I am. Look, Trump was corrupt, is corrupt, and in the future will continue to be corrupt. So he is literally and systematically, it's almost like he and his team have corrupted parts of our government. As much as we talk about, the government is corrupt, there is the deep state. Well, Trump is the deep state. He put corruption, injected corruption into our system and has exploited our system. One thing that I would say many years from now, what will have come out of this if we survive, if Trump gets reelected, if we survive as a country, as a democracy, one thing that we will see is that there's going to be a call for judicial reform, especially with the Supreme Court. You know, I think there has to be real conversation with what does it look like to have appointments to the highest bench in this land. Should it be term limited or can it be a lifetime appointment? Are there actually strong and real measures to actually remove someone from the court when there is the appearance of corruption? We can't just do, oh, well, we have to, it can't just be, well, these people on the Supreme Court deselect themselves if they think there is an appearance, but there has to be some check and balance. You know, I'm trying to figure out what is it that the executive can do? What is it that the legislative branch could do? Because it's clear that Trump is viewing the Supreme Court as an ace in his hole, in the hole, considering that he appointed multiple people on the court who he knew would have his back when ultimately these set of cases will move up to the Supreme Court. Like, the Supreme Court can't justify why they're giving this 2 months. The Supreme Court already knows which way it's going to vote. So if they're going to vote that way, if they're going to decide that way, then they need to go ahead and do it now so we can all prepare for the aftermath of it.
Well, and guess what? Again, history is history. The Supreme Court expedited the case of Richard Nixon. They expedited Bush v. Gore. This is all about delay. So this court has no credibility whatsoever. And I'm telling you, Clarence Thomas is not going to recuse himself, and his wife is one of the people who was trying to overthrow this government and overthrow this election. That man has no business hearing this case. None whatsoever. All right, gotta go to a break. We come back. Last night, I talked to the mayor of Dolton, Illinois, about a variety of allegations against her. Asked her a series of questions to get her on the record. One of the things we talked about was this charity that's named after her. She says, hey, I'm not involved in nothing about it. Who's behind it? Don't know. That's not true. I'll explain next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
Grow your business or career with Grow with Google's wide range of online courses, digital training, and tools. Gain in-demand job skills with flexible online training programs designed to put you on the fast track to jobs in high-growth fields. No experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace. Complete the online certificate program on your own terms. Stand out to employers, get on a path to in-demand jobs, and connect with top employers who are currently hiring. Take one professional career certificate program or all 6. Earn a Google Career Certificate to prepare for a job in a high-growth field like data analytics, project management, UX design, cybersecurity, and more. All professional career certificate programs must be completed by December 31st, 2024. Scan the QR code to complete the application. There are 1,000 scholarships available. Grow with Google and J. Hood and Associates. Be job ready and qualify for in-demand jobs.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
All right, folks, last night on Roland Martin Unfiltered, I talked to the mayor of Dolton, Illinois, in an exclusive interview about a variety of allegations against her. She's got national attention, a lot of critics out there with regards to how she's operated as the mayor of Dolton as well as the supervisor of Thornton Township. One of the issues we talked about was this charity, Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. Here's what I first asked her about the foundation. You have a charity that from the Attorney General's office is, I understand they sent a cease and desist letter to your foundation?
I don't know nothing about that. I'm not crazy. I'm not
You have a
deranged.
Tiffany Henyard Cares, your foundation. So the Attorney General's office hasn't reached out to you regarding your foundation?
So I want to set the record straight. I don't have a foundation. I am a supporter of anybody that's struggling with cancer. My mom had breast cancer, and I'm always push anybody that has that. If someone uses my name to push their charity, or if you say this is Tiffany t-shirt, people gonna buy it. Because right now I'm considered what? Clickbait. People make money off of my name by views. So you just say my name.
You say you don't have a foundation.
I do not. And that's why I tell everybody, go do your research. I'm not on anything.
Okay, I followed that up a little bit later in the interview with this. So I'd asked you before we went to the break. I talked about again this charity and the Illinois Attorney General's office. This is from CBS affiliate there. Says that. The accusation comes at the same time the Illinois Attorney General's office told Henyard's charity multiple times in recent months to stop improperly soliciting donations because it had not registered with the state as required by law. And you say that's not your charity.
Correct.
Okay. So were you ever? So show the video here. 'Cause I'm trying to understand this here. So this is a video of you marching with the charity. So what is this?
So what they're not telling you is we literally walked to Springfield to create a bill to help anybody that suffered from cancer, whether it's the village of Dolton, Thornton Township, and then I increased it to the state of Illinois. And that bill will help people by giving them $10,000. And that's a bill that we actually are initiating, and we're still working on it. When I went through the Republican states, the Republican areas, we didn't have any issue. Everybody was on board because everybody is suffering from cancer or knows someone that passed or is actually going through it. So that was the whole purpose of the walk, to basically bring awareness and bring people together. That's what the whole purpose of it is.
But if you had, so there were folks with signs saying Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. Who was that?
What do you mean? It's everybody. Everybody was there.
No. What I'm saying is, what is the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation? You said it's not affiliated with you at all.
Correct.
Well, what is it?
So someone made up a foundation. They named it after me, and they like my work that I do in the community, and it's called Tiffany Henyard Cares. So we all went.
Now, but they weren't registered. Have you contacted them and told them you can't use my name improperly?
Well, my lawyer's handling a lot of that stuff, so all I can tell you is that I'm not the one on anything. That's the only thing I can tell you right now. So I'm just trying to answer to the.
So you're saying there's a foundation that's not registered, but it has nothing to do with you?
Correct. That's true.
Okay.
That's
so you're not aware of any of the work that they've done, money that they've raised, anything along those lines?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So she said in the interview that the foundation was not hers. This is from a council meeting.
I'm doing that I'm really, really big on, that's dear to my heart, is I'm real big on a cancer foundation. I have created Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, and what that entails is helping everybody within the 17 municipalities with services, such as well services and resources, such as if you need help paying for chemo, radiation, your medicine, your wigs, your prosthetic, your breast, things of that nature, even helping you with housing. Because I know firsthand how that feels to just not have help when my mom had breast cancer. So I want to make sure that I put that out there to the public and to everybody, that it goes to any 17 municipality. You cannot live in Chicago to benefit from this foundation. It's strictly for people that live in the 17 communities. We are doing a cancer walk October 4th, and how this room was filled, I will hope you guys will come out for that cause. We will start right at Food for Less parking lot, and we will walk west going across the Unity Bridge, and we will walk 15 miles. So anybody that's up for the challenge or that feel they can make it, please show up. You can walk, ride, or drive. And yes, we got bikes. We have motorcycle clubs. We have all kinds of people that is joining us in this movement because you never know when you need this resource as well. So always be about the cause. Last but not least, even though I know we got another meeting, the kids' Halloween dance party will be Sunday, October.
So now I'm confused. In that video, in a council meeting, and I'm about to play the intro again, Mayor Henyard says, I have created a foundation. Press play.
Doing that I'm really, really big on, that's dear to my heart, is I'm real big on a cancer foundation. I have created Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, and what that entails is helping everybody.
So she says, I have created the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. We pull the article of incorporation. Pull it up. Now, when I asked her about this, she said, someone made up a foundation. Okay, someone. Here's the problem. The registered agent of the foundation is a Keith Freeman. Keith Freeman works for the city of Dolton. If you look at the boards of the directors, there are 5 people. Kamal Woods, Pamela Earhart, Carmen Carlisle, William Moore, Cheryl Schranz, S-C-H-R-A-N-Z. Earlier today, I sent emails to Carmen Carlisle, who is listed as an assistant to Mayor Henyard for the city of Dolton. I sent an email to William Moore, who's listed as head of housing for the city of Dolton. So now I'm confused. Then I pulled additional information. Cheryl Schranz apparently is a vendor of the city of Dolton, and she has the tow yard contract for the city of Dolton. Again, this is where I'm confused. So, I also sent an email to James Farrell, who is the head of communications for the city of Dolton, asking, are Dolton city employees listed below involved in the Henyard Cares Foundation board? No response. Moore didn't respond. Carlisle didn't respond. Keith Freeman didn't respond. I did send an email with these questions to the PR staff for Mayor Henyard, and pull up their response, please. This is a statement attributed to Mayor Henyard. Pull it up. I recognize there are questions surrounding my association with the Tiffany Cares Foundation. Allow me to clarify. While the foundation's purpose deeply resonates with me due to personal experiences witnessing my mother's battle with cancer, I want to emphasize that I have never held a position on its board, nor am I involved in its daily operations. My connection stems from a sincere dedication to serving my community, particularly those confronting similar challenges. It's important to note that while my likeness is being used for the cause, I am not in an authority or operative position within the organization. My commitment remains steadfast to residents of Illinois and my mission to advocate for their health and wellness. Okay, I get that. But here's what I'm trying to understand. The mayor says, I'm not involved in his operation. I have no position. According to the Articles of Incorporation, she's correct. But the 5 people who are involved, 3 of them work for her, possibly 4. One person is alleged to be in a romantic relationship. I'm trying to confirm or deny. One of the 5 is a vendor with the city. So here's a foundation that the state attorney general's office has ordered them to stop accepting funds. But here's part of also the problem. Mayor Henyard participated in a vote that provided money to the foundation. Do we have that video? So that happened. So how do you then say in a meeting, I have created a foundation, and in the same meeting, you are describing what the foundation is going to do? So you give me a statement today saying I'm not involved in any of his actions or his decisions, but you said this in announcing the foundation, which describes its activities. How do you know this? Press play.
I'm really, really big on, that's dear to my heart, is I'm real big on a cancer foundation. I have created Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, and what that entails is helping everybody within the 17 municipalities with services, such as well services and resources, such as if you need help paying for chemo, radiation, your medicine, your wigs, your prosthetic, your breasts, things of that nature, even helping you in housing. Because I know firsthand how that feels to just not have help when my mom had breast cancer. So I want to make sure that I put that out there to the public and to everybody, that it goes to any 17 municipality. You cannot live in Chicago to benefit from this foundation. It's strictly for people that live in the 17 communities. We are doing a cancer walk October 4th, and how this room was filled, I will hope you guys will come out for that cause. We will start right at Food for Less parking lot. We will walk west, going across the Unity Bridge, and we will walk 15 miles. So anybody that's up for the challenge or that feel they can make it, please show up. You can walk, ride, or drive. And yes, we got bikes, we have motorcycle clubs, we have all kinds of people that is running.
So here's the problem that has not been clarified by Mayor Henyard. And I did respond to her people, and I said, this statement does not, first of all, the email that I sent, I said, I have some additional questions regarding the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation. I laid out, and I said, my understanding is that Keith Freeman is the Dolton Village manager. Does Henyard have a personal relationship with Keith Woods? Is Pamela Earhart her assistant? Is Carmen Carlisle a trustee of Thornton Township? Is William Moore the housing director at Dolton? Is Cheryl Strands a vendor with Dolton and is the official tow yard? I said, now last night, Mayor Henyard said she wasn't aware of who was behind the foundation. How can that be the case with all of these connections? Please provide me an answer. We will be doing this story tonight at 6 p.m. They responded. And I responded. This statement does not answer the questions I posed. Was Mayor Henyard aware that Dolton and Thornton Township employees created and oversaw this charity? Why did she say she was not aware who was behind this charity when every person has a tie to her? Why would she allow a charity to use her name, image, and likeness, but she have no involvement with it? She has voted for monies to be sent to the charity. The charity has used Dolton City Services. She has promoted the charity on her social media, personal pages, and in meetings. So how is she not aware of the goals, objectives, and business dealings of the charity? That last one hasn't been answered. So these are the type of questions that raise doubt in the minds of people regarding the veracity of Mayor Henyard. It also raises some fundamental conflicts of interest. If you are the mayor of Dolton and the village manager is a subordinate of yours, how is he the agent of a nonprofit that bears your name? That's one. How do you have a housing director who's an employee of Dolton, which means that they work for you, the mayor, but they are a board member of a charity that bears your name? Third, how can you have a vendor who does business with the city, a member of the board of a charity that bears your name? All of this speaks to conflicts of interest that must be addressed. It is not simply to say, oh, I got no involvement. Respectfully, Mayor, you do. Because if you voted to send funds to the charity, that's involvement. Second, I don't care who you are. I don't know of anybody that will allow a charity to use their name, likeness, and image, and then that person promotes them everywhere, and they have no involvement. This is simply one of the issues that people have raised that deserve to be properly answered. What I need people to understand is that I love all the people out there who ain't never reported on nothing. Oh, man, you should have did it this way. First, you have to ask a series of questions to get answers. And now you come back with, okay, there are contradictions in the answer. I need Mayor Henyard and her team to come back and answer all of these questions. And I have some additional questions, and I'm sending them. And the mayor said last night that there were bills at the city council purposely did not pay. I'm sending her team an email that is going to list several vendors that the council said pay that have yet to get paid. That in itself is a contradiction of what the mayor said last night. In all of this, what is required is the truth. Mayor Henyard said, I'm putting the truth out. All the information is out there. I'm being transparent. I will say right here, regarding this foundation, this is not transparent. It does not pass the smell test. There is no way you can have a foundation that bears the name of the mayor of Dolton, Illinois, the supervisor of Thornton Township, where the registered agent is the village manager of Dolton. You cannot have individuals associated with this foundation who literally are working for the city that you are over. And so I will give Mayor Henyard and her team additional time to answer these questions. But I have a lot more questions. So a number of things that was said last night in the interview, I'm going to need answers to, because based upon additional research, there are a variety of contradictions in what we were told last night on this show and what we know today. I'll let y'all know when we have more information. I'll be right back on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
You heard why we're marching, and it's really a launch. It's not even a march. We're launching.
That's right.
A 42-week campaign. March the 2nd at 10 o'clock in Raleigh and 33 other state capitals and the District of Columbia. This is a historic move to mobilize the most powerful untapped block of voters in this country. That's right. Poor and low wealth voters who make up 87 million votes. And it's never been tried before. Never been tried before in history. At the same time, the same message, same focus. And when that power turns loose, they will not be able to figure out the political calculus. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to shake things up. I'm ready to get up out of the valley. I'm ready for God to put his spirit on us. I'm ready to be used to change this nation. And what we're saying is, can't we come together? Can't we come together around an agenda? You ain't got to like everything about Reverend Barber. You don't have to like everything about Sangria. You don't have to like everything about Long Choir. But can we come together and say, it's time to end poverty as the fourth leading cause of death? It's time to have $15 and a living wage indexed with inflation. So every time inflation goes up, the minimum wage goes up. It's time to have health care for all. It's time to fully fund public education. Can't we come together? It's time to protect women's right to women's health. It's time to have affordable housing for everybody. It's time to stop the proliferation of guns. Ain't no way folk ought to be able to have more guns than they have food, more guns than they have meat on their table. That makes no sense. Isn't it time for division to be ended and love to take over? Can't we organize around that? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't need to like everything about you, but can't we organize for power? Can't we stand for justice? Can't we love everybody for just a little while? Can't we come up out of the valley? Can these bones live?
Me, Sherry Shepard, with Sammy Roman.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
like we tried to tell you, Republicans across this country are doing all they can to destroy the Voting Rights Act. It's not just the South. Check this out. ProPublica has a great story where in Washington State, State Rep Paul Graves came up with a plan to scrap voting rights from people of color. The article in ProPublica is called Republicans Hashed a Secret Assault on the Voting Rights Act in Washington State. Marilyn Thompson is the reporter, joins us out of D.C. Marilyn, glad to have you here. So what's amazing with your story is that you got a Republican who's on the committee who then sees what's about to happen with a lawsuit, and he begins to privately work with Republicans across the country to derail the work that he did because he was trying to, frankly, keep Latinos from being able to have more power in Washington State.
You've just summed it up. I would say that's accurate, yes. This was one of the more unusual things I've seen, and I've been looking at redistricting now better part of a year in different states around the country.
Did we lose Marilyn? Is she still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. All right, no, I thought we had lost your audio. All right, so what was interesting here is that here Latinos sued. They were like, wait a minute, our voices are being stifled, and they actually won the case. But this guy was trying to prevent that from actually happening. So they knew what they were doing. They knew that they were messing over Latino voters, but they were trying to still hope that the federal courts and this conservative Supreme Court would let them do it.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the sad thing for people of color is that the delaying tactics that you see in a case like this are just stunning. I mean, Washington State, that particular area, the Yakima Valley, they had, in 2022, they had an election based on this map that the independent commission drew. And so the judge had left that map in place, even though that map had to be a clear violation of the Voting Rights Act. So, you know, and now it's dragging on again, and you've got the commissioner challenging his own work product using kind of a front guy to file a lawsuit. So it's pretty stunning stuff.
Now they were suing on behalf of Section 2. And we know that Section 4 was essentially gutted in Holder, Shelby v. Holder.
Yeah.
But Republicans have been trying to attack Section 2. Well, people have to understand, Section 2 is how we got the additional congressional seat in Louisiana, in Alabama, and they were trying to gut Section 2 in Arizona as well. Clarence Thomas wants to completely throw out the Voting Rights Act, and so if Section 2 is invalidated, if the Voting Rights Act is invalidated, then they are free to disenfranchise black and other minority voters nationwide. That's really what the Republican strategy is.
Yeah, the Section 2 is the last remaining leg of that Voting Rights Act that protects minorities against, you know, gross violation of because they can't challenge on pretty much any other basis anymore. It's okay to do partisan gerrymandering, according to our Supreme Court. You know, if you can prove racial gerrymandering under the 14th Amendment, fine. But that's a hard case to prove. So Section 2 is like a protection that people of color have been using since 2013 to really get their rights.
And shockingly, this Supreme Court has allowed Section 2 to stay in place. And again, these Republicans were shocked when they did not throw out the lower court decision in Alabama and Louisiana. They tried everything, and they swore they had the votes to basically render Section 2 invalid.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The word on the street after the Alabama decision, which upheld Section 2, the word on the street was, well, you know, we're just going to keep trying. We're going to get this thing overturned. So we're going to try to bring a lot of other cases before the Supreme Court, because there had been signals that they could win enough support to get rid of Section 2. So you've seen this flood of cases challenging Section 2, this one in Washington State being one of them. It's really been a flood.
And what was happening in Washington State, in that area, they saw an increase in Latinos coming in there, and Republicans were scared to death that they're going to be voting Democrat. So they said, hey, what we'll just simply do is just lessen their power.
Yeah, it had been a solidly Republican area dominated by white Republicans for years. And the Latino population had surged over the past decade more than anybody really thought it could. And under the VRA, they were definitely entitled to more representation. So that's the background on that particular area, which is, you know, it's a wonderful area, farming, agriculture, lots of migrant workers, but they haven't been represented well in years and decades.
Well, what's also hilarious about your story is that Republicans went out and recruited a Latino Republican to sue on behalf of this. And I love this part of your story where it says Garcia's testimony was also damaging. He said in his deposition that he knew little about the case brought by Latino voters until he talked with Graves, and that he rarely spoke with his own lawyers. Asked who was paying his legal fees, he could only say, I don't know. The bottom line is he was a front. That's what he was.
Yeah, well, that's a summary of what was going down here. I mean, he didn't know anything about this case, and his deposition was so damaging that the Republicans tried to get the whole deposition reversed. I mean, they went in with motions to change his answers, like where he had said yes, they wanted it to be revised, so he was saying no. It was quite comical.
Well, it's a great story, great work by Marilyn, you and the team of ProPublica. We appreciate the work that y'all do. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Rebecca, this right here, again, that we need to understand. They went out, these Republicans went out and said, we need to find somebody who's Latino. Same thing they do with Asians and black people. And this fool torpedoed the whole case. He could, the story is hilarious. As Marilyn said, they sat here and they tried to, the story says Garcia's deposition harmed the suit so much that his lawyers later tried to have much of it corrected to reverse many of his assertions, including his testimony that his lawyers rarely talked with him. The judge would not allow the corrections. They will do whatever, including cheating, to win.
You know, this story is so comical, but it's also dangerous too. So once again, even to our earlier conversation, when different folks, not just in the comments, but, you know, we've heard pushback from people saying, well, why should I vote? I'm going to sit out because I want to sit out and protest and show people I'm not voting. But what people really have to understand is you literally have people all across this country, some in elected positions, some in law firms, some in the halls of the Supreme Court, who are working in overtime to make sure that Black folks aren't able to vote, to make sure that Black folks don't have equal representation or are able to elect the candidate of their choice, and to make sure that Latino voters as well are denied those things. And so I know sometimes people get sick and tired of us saying, hey, this is the most important election in your lifetime, but maybe we could rephrase it and say this: every single election is important. There's a reason why there are people out there who are literally at this moment trying to take away your right to vote. So while it's comical, it is also sad, because they are going to continue to do this until they have enough stuff out there for the Supreme Court to say, all right, here it is. This is the set of cases we can consolidate and finally kill the rest of the Voting Rights Act.
And Erica, here's the deal. The article lays this out. If somebody's watching, they may be saying, okay, Roland, this is Washington State. What's the big deal? But here's what they don't understand. That there's a name called Torchinsky. His firm is Holtzman Vogel. The article says this here, that they have represented Republican congressional and Senate fundraising committees, Republican National Committee, and a long list of GOP candidates and PACs. He was involved in the battle in Texas regarding Section 2. He was involved in the Florida case regarding, again, creating alternate maps that Ron DeSantis used, and a judge overruled them. Now it's going to go to the Florida Supreme Court. This main man was involved in the case in Arkansas, where a federal panel ruled that private parties lack standing to bring Section 2 lawsuits because the law gives enforcement power only to the U.S. Attorney General. This same man, Torchinsky, filed a brief on behalf of Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, arguing that the court should not allow private parties to bring lawsuits. To everybody who's watching, if this ruling goes to the Supreme Court and stands, that means that no outside group, not NAACP, LDF, not Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, not any legal group or any Black Voters Matter, any group could file lawsuits challenging these seats. Only the government. So guess what, Erica? If Republicans win the White House, they're in charge of DOJ. They'll never file these suits. That's why we got to understand this is a national strategy of Republicans to stop the advancement of Black, Latino voters, and other minorities.
Absolutely, and to borrow from my sister Reese that talks about this breathlessly, it is really to rescind our citizenship. And when you think about the BRA and what the BRA affords, not only Black people, but people throughout this country, that if that Section 2 is successfully dismantled, all of those groups that you named, Rebecca, the work that you do to ensure fair elections, all of that work comes to a halt. So now when people look around and they talk about what are the legacy groups doing, who's working for us, we can really look around and echo and say that those institutions that we've seen for 30, 40, 50, 60 plus hundreds of years have now been decimated. And then thinking about the Department of Justice under a Trump regime, this is the same Department of Justice that they did not want to have a database of police officers who were harming citizens. So we have to take all of this into account, because what we have been afforded is a benefit, prices paid, of people who are no longer with us and some that are still with us. So to think about in 60 plus years that all of that could be reduced to zero, who do we look to actually move us to a place where we have some type of restoration or we're able to engage again? And the picture that has been painted here and that's been painted on the show for many, many years, that we don't want a Supreme Court of 9 people who have lifetime appointments, whose influence through billionaires and through rogue people who ascend to presidency, that they have actually coffers and that they have purchased these people. So it's really looking at again, our citizenship and what we may have freedom to do or not to do. And I've not lived in a lifetime where that's not been my truth. You know, outside of what is being said on social media, I don't ever want to live in a lifetime where that is my truth, because I don't know that I have the strength of a Harriet Tubman. I don't know if I have the strength of a Coretta Scott King. I don't know if I have the strength of a Sojourner Truth. So those are the things that we need to think about in terms of the freedoms that we are afforded, however flawed they are. Vote. It absolutely matters, because we could be looking in the not too distant future of not being able to do that, and then having to fight to have some type of restoration to be able to participate in the voting in as a free country.
Well, what they also don't understand is this here. If you sit your ass at home and the other side wins, they now control state rep seats, state Senate seats, state Supreme Court seats. They can control congressional seats. So they then can put their people in power. That's why it is dumb to sit at home and say, oh, I'm not going to vote. I'm just going to sit this one out. That is the dumbest thing in the world. But go ahead and be stuck on stupid. And then watch them invalidate Section 2.
Absolutely. And Roland, I can just add one thing that Marilyn did put in this piece, that she said that it was a covert act. But we have to recognize that these acts, we talk about it on this show breathlessly all the time, that they are very overt in their actions. They have said it, they have messaged it, they have put it in print, they screamed it. They are only interested in power, and they have to step over the blood of you and your children. They're not extending Medicaid. They don't give a damn about jobs. All they care about is power, their own power. And to understand that a person that has been elected, that is being paid by the same government that they don't want you to have rights in, to not have that be the engine to cause you to go and vote, that says a lot about what you actually internalize as freedom as a person that actually has the ability to vote.
Roland,
Rebecca,
can
go
I also
ahead.
add another? So here's the thing. When I think about my parents, they were born and they didn't have full voting rights. My parents had to wait, even into adulthood to actually have full voting rights. So that means in my family, I am the first generation that has full voting rights, that was born into full voting rights. So what we're seeing with this ideology that's going across this country, that's rooted in white supremacy, is that we're first. Erica, I think we're both first generation with full voting rights as a Black person, as Black people in this country. And so what we're seeing, especially on the right, is that they want to reverse that. They want to destroy to make sure that we are the first and the last to be born into full voting rights. That's what's happening in front of us. And I really want to make sure that people are locked in and that they're paying attention, because this is happening now. This isn't a slow march, but this is a fast march to removing rights and removing full citizenship in this country to Black folks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to talk St. Augustine's losing their accreditation. What does that mean for the future of that North Carolina HBCU? You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Check this out. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are investing a record $7 billion into HBCUs. Billions for campus improvements, grants, and debt relief. Billions more for HBCUs. Endless possibilities for us.
Coming up on the next Black Table, a conversation with Professor Howard W. French on his new book, Born in Blackness, covering 600 years of global African history and helping us understand how the world we know today is a gift from Black people.
There could have been no West without Africa and Africa.
That's on the next Black Table with me, Greg Carr, only on the Black Star Network.
For the last 15 or maybe 16 years, 18 years, I'll say, since when I moved to LA, I hadn't had a break. I hadn't had a vacation, probably a week vacation here or there. Right. This year, after I got finished doing Queen Sugar and we wrapped it out, because I knew I had 2 TV shows coming on at the same time, so I'm going to take a little break. So So I've been on break for the first time, and I can afford it. Praise God. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I can afford it. I'm like, I can sit back and ain't got nothing to worry about, man. But this was the first time in almost in 2 decades that I've actually had time to sit back and smell the roses.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
North Carolina St. Augustine's University accreditation appeal was denied on Tuesday. The Southern Association of Colleges and School Commissions Appeals Committee upheld the board's December decision to revoke accreditation for the Raleigh-based school, which has struggled with financial management issues. The appeals committee listed several reasons to uphold the board's decision, including governing board characteristics, financial resources, financial responsibility, and control of finances. The appeals committee found that the institution failed to meet the provisions of good cause. St. Augustine's University has until March 8th to send a notice of intent to arbitrate the decision. This right here could represent a death knell for the university, Rebecca. We think back to Morris Brown. When they lost their accreditation, that means that students could not qualify for financial aid. We know that most universities, especially HBCUs, you're talking about 85, 90, 95% of a school's budget is based upon financial aid of those students. And so this is going to be some serious trouble for St. Augustine's if they're not able to keep their accreditation with this group, or maybe go to another group and gain accreditation elsewhere. But even that's going to take time.
You know, it's also very important for folks to understand what's happening with with our HBCUs as well. For many years, they have been grossly underfunded. Whether it's a private or public institution, there are certain monies that they're supposed to be receiving that they haven't received, which makes it harder to have some of the resources in place to make sure that there are certain things that you're keeping up with, because you simply don't have enough resources, enough people on your campus, in your administration, to make sure that you're meeting all of the accreditation standards. That said, St. Augustine is one of the schools that my organization works with hiring students to be democracy fellows on campus to help organize and do civic engagement in North Carolina. So this is something that I'll definitely be watching a lot because it's very important for our HBCUs, our institutions, to be strong. Because just like what Erica was saying in the last segment, with us trying to figure out if we have the wherewithal to withstand the onslaught of attacks that the Black community is now facing because of this harsh slide to the right in this country, we need to make sure that all of our Black institutions are shored up, because we're going to need everybody in this fight.
And Erica, look, you got to take care of business. This is an article from the ABC affiliate here. $10 million missing from St. Augustine's financial records, new audit documents revealed. This story dropped on Tuesday from ABC 11. It says the newly uncovered audit showed during the 2021 fiscal year, the university had $10 million that was listed as unsupported. This term is used for money documented by an auditor that's been spent that the university cannot account for in its records. According to the report, the university has policies in place that require authorization and approvals for wire transfers. However, this process is frequently circumvented and often disregarded. Look, this is one of those examples where, from the university standpoint, you got to get your damn house in order. You can't just cry wolf. You can't say, "Oh my God, woe is me. Hey, alumni, please help us out." Listen, part of the accreditation is having your financials in order. There is no reason in the world why there should be $10 million that's unsupported.
Yeah, that's a lot of pennies rolled up. But in looking at the financial position that the school is in, I'm also looking at the number of people that have matriculated through that as well, too. And what that means to the people that graduated from this institution. So in thinking about the investments that were made from families that have been attending that school, alumni for generations on end, to now have a school be threatened with losing its accreditation and be pretty much in, right towards the end of many people's graduation careers there. Definitely very saddening. But, this is a far different type of situation than when you were talking about last year with the president over at Tennessee. I believe it was State University, but she was a CPA, and so they had their financials in order. Also looking at the impact that this has on employees, that there were employees that weren't paid February 9th for their payroll. So, I'm hoping that their financial situation, that this appeals process does bear out something so that it will be a benefit to the students and the people that that's how they feed their families through the school. But absolutely ensuring that those financial documents, particularly when you're taking money from the federal government, up to 85% for those students that are students at St. Augustine University, out of the diligence for those students and then the employees, that definitely should be something that should be shored up and be taken care of throughout the year.
And Rebecca, this ABC story says the audit found that key executives within the business office were not appropriately performing their job functions. Also, employees were misusing university-issued purchasing cards for personal purchases. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are, and this is the deal. It's kind of basic to me. If you are an HBCU and you know you have funding issues, you've got to be on top of your game to make sure that you are making sure every dollar is being taken care of. This is an abomination. This is shameful, an abomination, and it's horrible for those students. It's for faculty, staff, alumni. This should not be happening. This should not be happening. And hey, if leadership has a reason for it, fine. Come out and explain it. But it's going to be a little hard to stand up and say, hey, black people, please come help save us, if you're not handling your business to save yourself.
You know what, Roland? You're absolutely right. You can't be funding with the money. You have to make sure that you're handling business, like full stop. One thing that I'm also aware of is that it also costs to upgrade financial systems, especially if you're working on archaic systems and you're moving to more complex systems. Also understanding to retain an auditing firm, retaining a CPA firm, like having all those resources in place so you have proper controls so you can successfully pass auditing also takes an investment. So if you're living hand to mouth, if you're not getting the type of promised tax dollars that your institution is due, then sometimes, yes, people cut corners. Am I saying that it's right that people cut corners? I'm just suggesting here is that sometimes we have to broaden out the story with what's going on with HBCUs. It's not just a series of bad decisions, but it is a series of decisions that are compounded with lack of resources that are reliable.
Yeah.
So, and look, so we get it. St. Augustine leaders plan to, file a lawsuit regarding the loss of their accreditation. Get it? Totally understand it. But again, I need leaders of the university to answer the serious questions. How are you not dealing with your financial house? That ain't got nothing to do with the Accreditation Council. So we got to be as willing to challenge our own about not taking care of business.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes it ain't them, sometimes it's us. I'm just saying. Folks, the U.S. Coast Guard is making history by installing the first black female rear admiral. Captain Zeta Merchant will become the highest-ranking black woman in U.S. Coast Guard history when she assumes the rank of Rear Admiral in April. Merchant commanded the maritime operations across the southern tip of Lake Michigan and worked in port operations in Miami and New Orleans. She has a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degrees, and a doctorate in business administration. She's also taken seminars at Harvard and MIT. Her academic and business awards include 3 Meritorious Service Medals, 6 Coast Guard Commendation Medals, and 3 Coast Guard Achievement Medals. Congratulations to her. All right, folks, we're going to discuss the story dealing with Mississippi prisons, but we were unable to download the video. I want to have the video tomorrow of Christian Clark talking about the grave, shameful conditions that folks are dealing with there in Mississippi. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. Erica, thanks for being with us. Rebecca, thanks for being with us as well. I appreciate both of you being on today's show. Thanks a bunch. Folks, don't forget, we're doing the stuff other folk ain't doing. Oh, first of all, before I do that, you two people, why y'all messing around? Hit the damn like button. Y'all been sitting there commenting for 2 hours, several thousand y'all on here, and y'all won't hit the like button. It ain't that hard. Hit the button. All right, folks. Again, support us in what we do. This is about covering the news that matters to us. And so this show, Roger Muhammad's Daily Show, the weekly shows we have, we're doing the kind of stuff that other people are not doing. And so your support absolutely matters. So please join our Bring the Funk fan club. See your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so don't forget, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Folks, tomorrow I'm going to be in New York City, Susan Taylor's National Cares Mentoring Gala. I'll be broadcasting from there. We'll be carrying the gala live right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And on Friday, we will have exclusive coverage of the celebration of life of Mr. Harry Belafonte at Riverside Church. That will take place on Friday's show. I'll be in New York as well. And so that's what we do in the next couple of days. Thanks a bunch. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?